Good morning. Welcome to episode 10 of the Healing Hut. I'm really glad you're here. I'm Mike. On this episode, what I'm going to be working on, I have two sets of French doors that face that direction that I've been working on for weeks now. Two of them were painted white. I've spent countless hours on those doors, and I'm still working on this episode. Hope to have those finished so we can get those put in. I also have two windows I'll be putting in. These windows I got for 90% off because they were display windows in Lowe's. They're very nice windows. One of them is a little bit narrow for my window opening, which is fine because I saved so much money. I just have to do a little bit extra work of filling in the edges with wood. I'm going to be have some old deck railings that somebody's going to throw away that I've recycled, and I'm going to be putting them on my loft as railings. That saves a lot of money there. Thinking back from when I started this project, I had a really good friend, contractor, who did an estimate that in case I became ill from my cancer and couldn't finish it, what it would cost. If I started day one all the way through, they estimated the cost of building this would be $400,000. And the reason is the kind of materials I'm using, especially the stonework alone, would cost $200,000. So I'm saving an enormous amount of money by doing all the work myself and doing a lot of recycled materials. One other thing I'm going to be working on this episode you'll see is that I'm starting doing my planning for electrical. I received a 70-page booklet from the power company of what I need to do to prepare the cottage for electricity. That nothing about wiring inside, it's just getting the cable from the telephone pole down to the cottage. So I got a lot of work to do on that. And once again, I'm challenged by my health, which is part of the story. My cancer is doing really well, and I'm very grateful about that. But having multiple myeloma is cancer of the immune system, and having a bone marrow transplant, which didn't really work that well, and been on heavy-duty chemo, my immune system is pretty well shot. And I went through 8 weeks of fighting bronchitis. I worked every day out here, but when you cough all night, it's really hard to have energy to do much work. And I had 2 good weeks, and now I'm back into bronchitis again. I'm doing every other week IV, IG infusions at the hospital, trying to build my immune system up. But that's part of the story. I'm really glad you're here, as I said, and it makes a lonely day of me working much better when I have a camera to talk to. Imagine that there will be people on the other end of this. So come along, you're part of my team. want to point out one of the advantages of trying to build something that looks very old is not only can you use recycled materials, but you don't have to bring those recycled materials up to perfection. I just sanded my post for my loft, and I may not go do anything else to it. It has that patina look of old. I could paint it, but I think I like this old look better. And I mean, I can change my mind even when it's up to go back and paint it. But I think I'm going to leave it the way it is. I'm bringing my job site foreman out here to inspect things. What do you think, bees? It looked okay to you? They sit and watch me all day working, and I think they'd like to come down and explore on their own. Hey, Clarence. Hey, Archie. Hey. Now, Bee, where you going, girlie? Hey. You're dragging me right through everything, Bee. Hi there, thanks so much for coming along this episode. You've been a big help. I want to show you what we've accomplished. Here's the railings. These are old recycled deck railings. They're in good shape. I'm going to leave them the way they look right now. Later I may do something to them. I need some trim work. I need to plug the holes where the bolts go and things like that, and that'll be done. Also, I have two windows in. These windows will need a little bit more flashing on the outside. It's raining today, so I couldn't really work on that. This window is above a sink. And one of the things this window will have on the outside is that this is a stone wall, and I want to put a lintel above it, a decorative lintel. I will use one of my old Civil War beams, remnants of them. Maybe, I don't know if you can see it very well. One of these Civil War era beams. And the reason a window on a stone house has a lintel or door is that, you build a bridge above the opening on which we could add more rocks. Well, since this stone cottage has a wooden core, you don't need that. But I'm going to do it for decorative, and I have this gorgeous old timbers that I don't want to waste. And they'll do that. So this window here is a bathroom window. It's all in, secure. Probably need a little bit more flashings. Flashings are not as serious for that window because it's under a porch. Next week, if I'm able to do it, I got to do a lot of work and start cleaning up my site. And the reason is I'm going to be running power from this pole to the cottage. I need to dig out a trench. So I need to move rocks and wood, and that's going to take a lot of work. Let me mention also, before I close, I don't know if I can get light in here or not. This might look pretty dark to you. I don't have a way of showing light back in here. Here are my doors I've been working on. One door is done. One door is in the basement. I'm going to varnish today. And I got 2 more doors. And this goes into openings over here. I hope you can see. I would take my big light down to shine in this room, but it won't come down. So hopefully you can see it. I also want you to see this little, very old apothecary cabinet. I think it's from 1900. It needs some work. That's going to go either in the kitchen or in the storage area. It's got 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's got 25 drawers in it. And it just fits the decor, this really old look. So, you know, I was just thinking today how important it's been for me to do this cottage, because before, not only was I alone all the time with not much to do except writing, I try to discipline myself to do exercise, which is very important for my cancer therapy. And I'm not very good at that. Not when I do boring exercises every day. But since I've been building this cottage, almost 7 days a week, no matter how sick I am, I have this burning desire to get up here and work. And it's not discipline, it's just my passion. And I think, how many days would I just sat on the couch or laid in bed when I felt so bad? Then instead I say, no, I got to get up to the cottage. And often I get up here and I feel much better once I'm working. So it's been a godsend for me to work on this. And I encourage you, if you're dealing with chronic health problems, to find a passion. To find a passion that you could love to do, that exercises your body and your mind. I think it's so helpful. I'm going to quote, I really like philosophy. There's a lot of good philosophers over time, but one I was thinking about today was Epictetus, who lived in the 1st century in Rome. And a little bit about him, you may know about him. He died in the 2nd century. But he started his life as a slave. He was a child, probably taken as a substance of war, from some, his village was probably raided and the Romans took him as a child and turned him into a slave. Don't know what his problem. All his statues had him with a cane or a walking stick, so he was lame in one leg, probably had a pretty rough life. He was a slave to the sectary of Nero, the infamous Nero. And there are stories that he was the one that actually killed Nero, and it wasn't a murder, it was a suicide. But in those days, an emperor wanted to commit suicide, you'd have your slave do it. So that's the story, that he killed Nero by Nero's request. But he became a Stoic philosopher, and one of the things that he wrote about, and he's not the only one in history that wrote about, but he described that in our life there's 2 areas of influence. There's the extrinsic, of which we have no control, and we have intrinsic, which we do have control over. And I remember my first days of being diagnosed with cancer. The worst thing for me was being on dialysis. I can't go into it here, but it's a horrible experience. I had a neurological condition that was made much worse during dialysis, 6 hours every other day sitting in a dialysis chair. And I looked at my kidney function numbers, and it was beyond my control. There was nothing I could do to change my kidneys' health. I followed a profoundly strict diet for 2 years of eating almost nothing but oatmeal in the morning and plain spaghetti noodles without any sauce, because I had to keep my potassium down and I couldn't have protein. So I followed these very strict diets, and it made almost no difference. Now, my kidneys did rebound halfway due to my multiple myeloma being treated. So that was so frustrating for me, to have something that's destroying your body over which you have no control. But you do have control over how you view that. And I got very, very depressed, lots of self-pity. I didn't want to live anymore. And that's when I said, okay, I'm going to write a book. And I wrote some books. And then I said, okay, I got to build my dream cottage. I had this cottage in my mind for decades to be built in Scotland. And I said, I got to build it here to give me a reason. This is my way of combating cancer. Anyway, I'm going to end with that. I've said enough. Thank you again so much for coming. Please come back. Let me know in comments things that I can do to make this more entertaining, enjoyable for yourself. I don't want anybody coming here out of pity. Let's watch the poor guy who doesn't know what he's doing, trying to build a stone cottage, who can barely limp along. But anyway, this is Super Bowl Sunday. I hope you have a great Sunday. I hope you have a wonderful week. Talk to you later.